So I'm taking this plain little wooden plaque that I got at Hobby Lobby, and I'm using these little wood ball knobs also from Hobby Lobby. They both can be found in the unfinished wood department. So I love these little balls. They're flat on one side, and so they make perfect little feet for a table riser. Any wood glue will work. I'm using Titebond Quick and Thick glue. It's just what I use in most of my projects. It dries quickly, it dries clear, and holds very well. So I just poured some out, and I'm just using my finger to spread a little on each flat side of the ball knobs, and I just put them in place. It's probably best to measure, but I generally just eyeball it. And there you go. So I have all my little feet on there. It's sturdy, it dried really quickly. And now I am just gonna paint it. So I'm using DIY paint. It's a clay-based chalk style paint. And I am going to put 2 coats on. Now, these wood pieces from Hobby Lobby usually are a little rough, so I did sand it just a little bit before painting, and then I dried it, and then like I said, I did another coat. And so here I am using a pretty little napkin. It's a Bunny Toile. I think it's just perfect for spring. I love green and white. Now this was a 3-ply napkin, so I get the 2 plies off and leave the last one to decoupage with. So the decoupage medium I'm using is from Paint Couture. It's their matte decoupage medium, and so you just brush it on, and I make sure that I get it really good along the edges, because I don't want my paper to lift up there. Now, I could have just brushed the decoupage medium along the edges, along the sides of the wood piece as well, and then bring my napkin all the way down along the sides. But honestly, I just didn't think about that, but that would have been just as cute. So now I'm gonna lay the napkin down into the decoupage medium. I'm just gonna eyeball it to kind of see where I wanna place it. I decide that I need to cut a little bit off just to make it easier to handle. And when a napkin has, or a paper has several images like this, you want to make sure you're not gonna cut it in an awkward place. So I'm just kind of looking to make sure I'm not cutting any bunny ears off or cutting a head off or something like that. So I get it like I like it, and then I just lightly start pressing it down, lifting a little bit to remove any large wrinkles, and I just smooth it all the way out to the edges. So once I get it all laying down nice and flat, I am going to add another coat of decoupage medium on top of the napkin. So I just brush it on, and again making sure I'm going all the way out to the edges and making sure it's all covered. Now I generally wait for the decoupage medium to dry and I sand off the edges, but I noticed that this napkin was tearing along the edges very easily, so I just went ahead and tore those all the way around on each side. I think I usually decoupage with a paper, and if you try to do that with a paper, most of the time mine tears. So I generally just play it safe. But I just went ahead, made sure all the edges were wet with the decoupage medium, and just went around and pulled it away. There were a few spots that needed or that left a little residue, but that is easily fixable, and I'll show you that in just a minute. Again, you could have gone all the way down the edges, the sides with the paper, and that would have been even easier. So here you go, Look how easy this was and so cute. I just love it. So now I'm just gonna dry it a little bit and touch up those sides. I'm just using a little bit of sandpaper to sand some of the spots that still looked rough, and then just touching it up with some paint and drying that. And then I'm just gonna turn it over and paint the bottom. I am using the same color paint. Again, the color is Beadboard by DIY, which is probably the whitest white of the DIY paints, which looked really good with the background of this paper. So now I'm just gonna seal it. I am using Paint Couture's sealer in satin. I really love their top coats. They self-level, which means there are no brush strokes. It's smooth. I love this top coat for furniture as well, because you don't even have to sand in between coats. So again, I'm just making sure I get a nice coverage. And also, one thing you want to do is check for drips, especially, you know, around those edges and places where it can puddle. So the final thing after the top coat has dried, I am going to add a little gold around the edges just to give it a nice little finish, a nice little highlight. And I'm using Rub and Buff in the color Gold Leaf. It's easily applied with your finger, or a little popsicle stick would work as well. And I'm just going along those edges there where it's raised and just gently rubbing it on. It doesn't take much, so you just get a little bit on your finger and rub it on. Now, Rub and Buff is a wax, but you could also use a metallic paint and get the same look. You can add as little or as much as you'd like, but I always think a little gold is always worth it. But if you don't like it, or you think you got too much, you can always remove it with a little bit of clear wax. And there you go. I love this paper. I think it's so cute and super easy. I hope this was helpful. Let me know if you make one for yourself.